Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is Brian, and I'm 31 years old. I work as a civil engineer in Portland, Oregon, where I oversee infrastructure projects for a mid-sized company. Last Tuesday, I received a text from a number I didn't recognize. I nearly deleted it right away, assuming it was spam, but something stopped me and made me open it. The message began with, "Hi, Brian." My stomach sank before I even finished reading. It was from Lauren, my ex-girlfriend from 3 years ago. Attached was a photo of a wedding invitation. She was getting married to Chris, my former best friend. I stared at my phone for a full 5 minutes, tried to make sense of it. The nerve of it was almost impressive. 3 years had passed since I caught them together, and now they wanted me to attend their wedding. The invitation itself was elegant, printed on thick, expensive cardstock, at least judging by the photo she sent. Her message, though, tried to sound light and friendly. She talked about how long it had been, mentioned that the wedding was next month, and said they would really love it if I came. She wrote about how everyone had grown so much and how meaningful it would be to celebrate this new chapter together. She signed off with, "Hope you're well," as if we were just old college friends who had drifted apart. I need to rewind a bit, because none of this makes sense without the full background. 3 years ago, my life looked nothing like it does now. Chris and I had been best friends for 10 years. We met in college and stayed close long after graduating. We weren't the type to talk every single day, but we always knew the other person was there, no matter what. We went through everything together. When my dad passed away during my senior year, Chris drove me home and stayed by my side to the funeral. When he got laid off from his first post-college job, I let him sleep on my couch for 2 months until he got back on his feet. We had the kind of friendship you assume will last forever. I used to joke that he'd be my best man one day. Lauren and I had been together for about 1.5 years when everything fell apart. We met through mutual friends at a barbecue and connected instantly. She was intelligent, funny, and driven. She worked in real estate and was doing very well for herself. We had started having serious conversations about the future, about possibly moving in together and seeing where life took us. I truly believed we were building something solid. She also got along great with Chris, which I loved. It meant my girlfriend and my best friend could be around each other without any tension. The three of us would grab dinner, watch games at sports bars, and do all the normal friend group stuff. I thought my life was on track. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a normal Thursday afternoon. After work, I went to gym like I always did. Chris owned a gym across town, and I sometimes worked out there to support his business. But that day I chose the one near my apartment. After finishing my workout, I realized I hadn't seen Chris in a few days. We had talked about watching a game that weekend, so I decided to swing by his place to say hi and confirm our plans. His apartment was only about 15 minutes away, and I didn't bother calling first. We had that kind of friendship. You could just show up. I used a spare key he had given me months earlier and let myself in. The TV was on in the living room, and I heard noise coming from that direction. I walked toward it, calling his name. What I saw when I turned the corner is something I'll never forget. Chris and Lauren were on his couch, completely naked, in the middle of having sex. They were so caught up in it that they didn't notice me at first. I stood there, frozen, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. It felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. Then Lauren looked up. In an instant, her expression shifted from pleasure to pure panic. She scrambled to cover herself. Chris turned around, his eyes widening when he realized I was standing there. His face was a mix of guilt and fear. He started reaching for his clothes and said, "Man, let me explain." I didn't let him finish. I didn't say a word. I turned around and walked out. I could hear them calling my name as I left, but I didn't stop. I got into my car, drove home, and sat in my living room in complete silence for about an hour. The betrayal hit me in waves. It wasn't just that my girlfriend had cheated. It was that my best friend, the person I trusted more than almost anyone, had been sleeping with her behind my back. I didn't know how long it had been happening. I didn't know if that was the first time or the 100th. I didn't know whether they had feelings for each other or if it was purely physical. And honestly, I didn't want to know. I didn't want explanations or apologies. I just wanted both of them out of my life. That night, I blocked their numbers. I unfriended and blocked them on every social media platform I could think of. I deleted photos, message threads, everything. Lauren came to my apartment the next day, but I didn't answer the door. Chris showed up the day after that, and I told him through the door that if he didn't leave, I would call the police. Some mutual friends tried to get involved, saying Chris and Lauren wanted to talk and explain themselves. I told those friends I wasn't interested. I had already seen enough. The months that followed were brutal. I had to rebuild my social life from scratch because so many mutual friends were caught in the middle. Some picked sides. Some tried to stay neutral. I ended up distancing myself from most of them because I didn't want to hear updates about Chris and Lauren. I moved to a different neighborhood across town to avoid running into them. I buried myself in work and started seeing a therapist to deal with the double betrayal. My therapist helped me understand that what I was feeling was grief, not just over losing Lauren, but over losing Chris too. In the span of about 10 seconds, I lost two of the most important people in my life. It took about 6 months before I started feeling like myself again. Therapy helped. Focusing on my career helped. About 8 months after everything happened, I got promoted, which gave me a sense of direction and pride. Slowly, I built a new social circle through work and hobbies. I went on a few dates, but nothing serious at first. I needed time to trust again. Little by little, I healed. I stopped thinking about Lauren and Chris every day, then every week. Eventually, hardly at all. About a year ago, I met Natalie through a mutual friend on Facebook. She's a 29-year-old veterinarian with a calm, grounded presence that I found incredibly attractive. We started out as friends, going on group outings. Eventually, it turned into one-on-one dates, and then something deeper. We've been officially together for about 8 months now, and it's the healthiest relationship I've ever had. She knows the entire story about Lauren and Chris. I told her early on because I didn't want any secrets between us. Her reaction was exactly what I needed. She didn't pity me or treat me like I was broken. She just said they sounded selfish and that she was glad I had enough self-respect to walk away. So when I got that text from Lauren last Tuesday, I was in a completely different place than I had been 3 years earlier. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I felt indifferent. I had built a life that didn't include them, and I was genuinely happy. Reading her message felt like hearing from a stranger. I kept my reply short and courteous. I wrote back congratulating them, declined the invitation, and said I wished them well. And I meant it, in the sense that I hoped they'd live their lives far away from mine. I assumed that would be the end of it. 2 days later, Lauren texted again. This message was longer, and the manipulation was obvious. She said she understood if things were still hard for me, but hoped I could be happy for them. She talked about how they hadn't planned for things to turn out this way, but sometimes life leads you down unexpected paths. She said my absence would feel like I was still clinging to the past. Then she dropped the real point. She said she hoped I had moved on, just like they had. The message was clear. If I didn't attend, it meant I was still bitter. That my boundary was actually a flaw. I read the text 3 times, feeling my irritation rise, but I didn't respond. Silence felt like the best answer. But Lauren wasn't finished. A few days before the wedding, she sent another message. This time, she dropped a friendly tone. She said it felt like I was punishing them by not coming. She admitted they'd made mistakes, but emphasized that it had been 3 years. She said I needed to let go of anger and choose happiness, then asked why I seemed stuck while everyone else had moved forward. That message didn't hurt. It angered me, not because I doubted myself, but because of the entitlement behind it. She was trying to make me feel guilty for having boundaries. She was acting like I owed them closure, forgiveness, or support. That was unbelievable. What she didn't know was that I had fully moved on. I'd been promoted twice and was now leading major projects. I had bought the house I once talked about owning. I had real friends who respected me. And I had Natalie. Natalie and I were actually on a trip when I received that final message. We were staying at a small inn overlooking the ocean in Cannon Beach on the Oregon coast. The trip happened to fall on the same weekend as the wedding. Pure coincidence, but it felt symbolic. That morning, we were sitting on the balcony, drinking coffee as the sun rose over the water. Everything felt calm and right. I showed Natalie the message. She shook her head and said Lauren and Chris were delusional if they thought I owed them anything. Then she said something that stuck with me. Some people need your pain to justify their choices. And when that pain disappears, they don't know how to cope. That's when I decided to respond. Not with words. I asked Natalie if she'd be okay with me sending Lauren a photo of us. I explained I wanted to show Lauren that I had truly moved on and that her guilt tactics weren't going to work. Natalie thought for a moment, then smiled and agreed. We took a photo on the balcony. The sunrise painted the ocean in soft pinks and oranges. Natalie kissed my cheek, and I smiled, a real smile. It wasn't staged. It was just two people in love, enjoying a peaceful moment. I sent the photo to Lauren with a short message. You said I needed to move on. I did 3 years ago. This is what that looks like. I'm not coming to your wedding because I don't need to. I'm not angry. I'm just busy being happy. Please don't contact me again. Then I blocked her number. I turned off my phone and spent the rest of the day with Natalie, walking along the beach and eating lunch at a small seafood place. I didn't think about Lauren, Chris, or the wedding at all. I had no idea what that photo would set in motion. That evening, when I turned my phone back on, I saw missed calls and messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Mutual friends, Lauren's maid of honor, even people from the old friend group. Everyone was asking the same thing. What did you send her? I ignored most of them. I didn't want drama. But one message was from Brandon, someone I used to be friendly with. He had stayed neutral back then and sounded genuinely concerned. He said Lauren had a breakdown after seeing the photo. I asked what he meant, and he called me. He explained that Lauren had been in the middle of last-minute wedding preparations when she saw my message. She froze, stared at her phone, then started sobbing uncontrollably. She kept repeating, "He's with someone else." She locked herself in the bathroom for nearly 20 minutes. When she came out, she looked completely different. Pale, shaken, obsessed with seeing the phone again. The mood in the room shifted instantly. Excitement turned into tension. Lauren stopped responding to anyone and just stared ahead, disconnected. I didn't know what to say. I hadn't meant to hurt her. I just wanted her to stop contacting me. Later, I learned that the photo shattered a story Lauren had been telling herself for 3 years, that I was broken and unable to move on. That belief made her feel better about the affair. Seeing me happy destroyed that illusion. The wedding was called off. Lauren admitted she didn't truly love Chris. She realized she had stayed with him to avoid facing her guilt. Everything fell apart. I didn't find out right away. I returned home on Sunday, unaware of the chaos. On Monday, a mutual friend told me the wedding was canceled. I was stunned. I never intended to cause any of it. I just wanted my boundaries respected. Over the following weeks, Lauren tried to reach me through friends, my sister, even my workplace. I ignored everything. When she showed up at my office and left a note, I threw it away. That was the final confirmation that cutting contact was the right choice. I've thought a lot about it since. I didn't ruin her wedding. I showed her the truth. What she did with that truth was her responsibility. The best revenge isn't revenge. It's moving on and building something better. I have a career I'm proud of, a home I love, friends who respect me, and a partner who makes me happy. Lauren and Chris are no longer part of my life. Some chapters are meant to stay closed. That one is sealed for good, and I'm not opening it again.